Do you consider yourself, in your heart, a painter or a director?
The great and mysterious ways of animals has fascinated us ever since we were children, and now...
Hi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Coffee. And for those of you who do know me, I'm Coffee. Welcome back. For a while now, I've had a growing interest in indie games. I find that the art direction, gameplay mechanics, storytelling ability, and the overall quality that independent developers bring to the table is nothing short of revolutionary. So, in an effort to work through my ever-growing backlog, I've decided to make these videos talking about the games I enjoy, going into why I like them, why I think they work or don't, and hopefully highlighting these games for those of you who might not have heard about them. I will do my best not to spoil everything these games have to offer, though I will be showing footage of environments, characters, and a lot of gameplay, so consider yourself spoiler warned. Without further delay, today I wanted to talk about Boreal Tenebrae Act I is an atmospheric adventure horror game that follows the story of a sick and dying town through the perspective of the various characters that live within it, created by Snot Bubbles Productions. The game is very much focused on telling its story in a pace and manner that made me feel like I was given the pieces of a puzzle, and it was up to me to piece them together. Throughout the story, you'll be playing as different characters, such as Bree, Sarah, Nicole, Chad, and a few others. You'll come to learn while playing the game that their stories are all deeply interwoven, and you'll be able to witness what's happening to the town and its people from multiple perspectives. I know that I'm being pretty vague, but it's really in an attempt to not spoil the story for you. So what I'll do is I'll give you a basic rundown of what's been happening as you start the story. You start off playing as Bree. Bree hasn't seen her sister for about a year, and that's because she was taken by the static. The static seems to be a sort of infection or disease that's been manifesting itself around the town in the form of static blocks or pillars that are both terrifying and mesmerizing to the locals. No one really knows for certain what started this, but a lot of the townsfolk seem to blame Sarah for this corruption. The static not only affects the people, but also the town itself. Objects seem to phase in and out of reality, while the people seem to be morphed into monstrous shapes that hinder and threaten their well-being. On top of all this is the fact that the town's economy seems to be very much dependent on the local lumber mill, whom the owner of which is threatening to pack up and take his business elsewhere if the workers organize and form a union. There's plenty of info still that I'm leaving out, of course, but with all this, it feels like you're walking into a place that's fighting its last fight before it completely caves under its own weight. A place where the town is a living being as much as the people are. Gameplay-wise, Boreal Tenebrae uses mechanics that are often used by adventure or RPG games, as well as having puzzles and a storytelling style similar to the PS1 era of the survival horror genre. You'll be able to explore various environments through atmospheric, fixed camera angles, while foregoing the tank controls for a more flexible and comfortable movement system. With these similarities, I still wouldn't consider it a survival horror game, since there's no management of limited resources such as ammo or health items, but it does feel like an adventure that is influenced by both survival horror and RPGs. When playing, I recommend being thorough about exploring your surroundings, as there are many environmental puzzles that require you to have a certain item to complete them. As I mentioned before, all the characters you play as share an interwoven story, but this interconnectedness doesn't stop at storytelling. Your inventory in the game is also shared across the other characters, meaning that an item that you picked up with Breeze, such as the old mirror, can be used by other characters in the story. This inventory mechanic makes the puzzle solving a lot more interesting, as sometimes to make progress, you'll need to combine items that are acquired by playing as different characters. The old mirror also brings me to one of my favorite features in the game. If you're stuck and at any point don't know where to go or what to do, by using the mirror, you can teleport back to Bree's home. There, you will find Bree's dad, who is taken a nap by the CRT TVs. And while sleep talking, if you speak to him, he'll give you directions as to what your next step should be. I found this extremely helpful, as I didn't want to look for guides outside of the game, and at least a few times while playing I felt lost as to where to go, having so many different paths to choose from. Overall, I do think this game shines its best when it comes to storytelling, but the gameplay is also solid and complements the fragmented storytelling really well. The game can be quite short, clocking in at around 4 hours on my first playthrough, and I managed to finish it in around half the time on my second playthrough. Also, these are two things I wanted to mention before I move on from talking about the gameplay. According to Steam reviews, when the game released it seemed to have quite a few bugs, some of these being game-breaking even. Since launch, however, the game was updated and the majority of the bugs ironed out according to other positive reviews as well as posts from the developer in the game's update history. Throughout my playthrough, I only encountered one bug that could have been frustrating. Thankfully though, I had saved a couple minutes prior, so to save yourself a headache, I definitely recommend saving often when playing through, and if anyone watching this is looking to buy, just be aware that there might still be a bug or two in the game. And the second thing I wanted to mention is that only Act 1 of this game's story exists so far, and this released on May 19th of 2020, so it's been 4 years and we still don't have an Act 2. Personally, I don't mind this too much as the experience contained in Act 1 is enjoyable enough as is, but I wanted to mention this somewhere in the video in case you were in search of a complete story. This might not be it yet. Act 1's story ends pretty abruptly, and I know that can turn away many people from enjoying the game. After some interweb searching, however, I found a Twitter post from the official Boreal Tenebrae account teasing Act 2. And it's also from July 8th of 2024, so it appears at least that the second act might actually be in the works, and honestly, I'm so excited about that. Alright then, moving on to like many of the games I've gravitated towards in recent months, Boreal Tenebrae is host to environments that evoke a surreal and haunting beauty within. From the cozy and lived-in feeling you get from returning home throughout your playthrough, to the haunting scenes of a factory full of corpses, the game takes you on an emotional ride that will have you questioning what's happened to the town, as much as the characters in it are. Boreal Tenebrae has a very unique art style that stands out to me among the indie games I've played so far, and also feels really charming and full of soul. The game has a cel-shaded art style with bright pastel colors and crunchy pixels that outline our characters and environments in a way that kind of reminded me of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, but with more serious undertones and abstract designs. After reading through the game's art book, I saw that the developer had been working in the 3D animation industry for about 10 years prior to developing the game, and it really shows. Replaying through the game again, it's still insane to me how great the quality of the animations are. You get a really good read on how the characters are feeling and reacting to the story as it evolves. I'll also link in the description a short animated film that directly ties into the game. It was published a little over a year after the game's release, and it showcases really well what the developer is capable of and highlights the quality of the game's storytelling. The film also covers a lot of what happens prior to where the game starts, as well as giving you some closure as to what happens in the game. So if you plan on playing Boreal Tenebrae and are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest playing the game first, since there might be a scene or two that I found to be very significant to the game's storytelling when finding it within the game itself. The sound design as well as the music are undoubtedly a big part of what made each environment and the overarching theme of this game resonate with me. The amazing and surreal soundtrack of Boreal Tenebrae was composed by Guidewire, whom I will link in the description below if you want to check out the rest of the work. Among my favorite tracks in the game was So Tired. This is the song that plays in the main menu when you boot it up, and I feel like it sets the mood really well for the journey you're about to embark on. It conjures up a sense of wonder and longing, like missing someone. Another song I really enjoyed was Cycle 2. This song to me feels relaxing, like a nice morning where you have no responsibilities pending and you're just chilling at home with nothing to do and you're okay with that. These are just my interpretations, of course, and what I get from them. Definitely come to your own conclusions when playing through and share your thoughts on them. The music as well as the game itself feels like it was a passion project for the dev as well as the composer. And there is something about this world and story that felt tangible and familiar to me. Summarizing how I felt during my time playing Boreal Tenebrae, I can't avoid in just feeling amazed. Amazed at the game I've stumbled upon and the fact that I have heard nothing about this game prior to playing it. I felt like I was playing an obscure GameCube game that no one had heard about, and when it comes to the topics of stagnation and missing someone, I feel like most people can relate to it. I give this game my personal rating of 10 static blocks out of 10, and if you're a fan of stories similar to Twin Peaks or Stranger Things, I highly recommend checking this game out, as it is host to places both wonderful and strange. Until next time.